There have been many unlawful, unjust, and outright inhumane attacks performed with prejudice in mind for a supposed greater cause: religion. If you're American, the one that stands out the most to you would be 9/11. And of course, the repercussions of that means that Muslims still have to live with the stigma till this very day in America. And while that was bad, what if I told you the events that transpired on September 11, 2001 is nothing compared to what we be talking about today, which is the Spanish Inquisition. You may have heard of it, but may not know exactly what it was or what they did, so I'll help you out. The Spanish Inquisition was created by King Ferdinand II and his wife, Queen Isabella of Spain, with the main purpose of finding heretics and punishing them. Who are these heretics, I hear you say? Not just people performing what was believed to be witchcraft like you might be thinking, but literally anyone and everyone who wasn't a Catholic. The two other religions which were popular at the time were Judaism and Islam, and Jews were already being persecuted in Spain even before the Inquisition began. So a lot of Jews converted from being Jews to Catholic just to avoid the persecution, and people who did that were known as conversos. But was this enough for the monarchs of Spain? It absolutely wasn't. They didn't trust the conversos, or anyone who wasn't Catholic, quite frankly, which is why the Inquisition was formed. The Inquisition would go on to find people who weren't Catholic and burn them at the stake. The Pope in Rome would learn of this and deem that the punishment was too harsh, and at this point I'm thinking any punishment at all for your religious beliefs is fucked up, but at least the Pope is coming up with some common sense, right? Right? Except he wasn't. The Pope used that as a way to get in on the action of the Inquisition and stationed some of his men as high-ranking officials within the Spanish Inquisition, as well as form an Inquisition of his own, and they would go on whipping and killing anyone who wasn't a Catholic. As Spain colonized several countries in Latin America, the Inquisition continued to grow stronger and kill people in that continent, as well as people who didn't worship their god. The Inquisition came to an end when Napoleon conquered Spain, so thank God for Napoleon. Who would have thought we'd be saying that? But how many lives did they take directly? How many people did they imprison and torture? According to reports, more than 150,000 people were whipped and tortured, and about 32,000 people were straight up executed. For context, a 9/11, which was performed by a radical terrorist group, killed 3,000 people. Until today, all Muslims have to pay the price for the stigma. Christians executed 32,000 people simply because they weren't Christians, and it isn't talked about anywhere. Everyone talks about how much Adolf Hitler hated Jews and tried to kill them all, which he did, which is reprehensible, but so did the Christians who killed Muslims and Jews for sport. But no one talks about Christians in that light, because Christians are meant to be all about love and peace, except Christianity only spread through the world because of fear, not faith. As they colonized every country they did, they forced the religion on them, and people had to convert or pretend to be converted or die by being burnt by the stake. This is the history of Christianity. This is how it spread, but this part of its history will never be talked about. Priests in England would rape and brand the backs of women with the sign of the cross and say they are saved to any woman who wasn't a Christian. But again, this part of the history of the religion is never spoken about. And of course, today with all the laws we have in place in the world, massacres like the Spanish Inquisition aren't likely to be seen again. But does that mean religion is fine now? And these religion-related deaths no longer happen? Wrong. They absolutely still happen, and that's why I find it funny when people say Christianity doesn't hurt anyone, and I'm just there like, well, tell that to the almost 200,000 innocent people who were tortured and killed in order to spread Christianity. Tell that to the members of the LGBTQ community who were shunned, tortured, kidnapped and killed by Christians because their sky daddy told them gay people must die. I don't know what your religion is, but the aim of this video is to be one of the few people actually shedding some light on the atrocities performed by this religion. Stay safe out there, guys. The silent atheist is silent.